Welcome back to MMA legend, living legend, Randy Couture. Hello, sir. Welcome back on Sherdog. How are you today?
Very good, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Thank you for giving us a little bit of your time once more. How are you in general?
I'm good. Staying very busy. Just got back from Ohio in the Arnold Classic, the International Sports Hall of Fame. We inducted Ronnie Lott, Kayla Harrison, uh, you know, Pop Sorensen. It was a great class. Jackie Joyner Kersey was supposed to be in that class, but unfortunately she got COVID just
Oh.
2 days before, so she couldn't make the trip. But really, really impressive class. Kayla did a great job with her speech. Ronnie Lott and Marcus Allen were very, very impressive as well. So staying busy, man, trying to keep up, honestly, most days.
Well, you seem to be doing pretty well, so I'm glad to see that. You're smiling, which means that everything is on point. We are here to discuss about the upcoming week 7 of the PFL Challenger Series. You have been watching these fighters for a while now. You have been taking part on several of these cards. What do you think so far about the Challenger Series?
Well, I've been very impressed. There's a lot of great young talent out there. You start looking at some of these records and some of these guys on paper, you're like, man, I don't know if they should be competing at this level. And every single time they impress me. They step up, they show that they do deserve to be at this level and compete at this level. We've given out 5 contracts so far this season already. Obviously, last season with the Challenger Series, we saw Carlos Leal come all the way through the regular season, make it to the semifinals. Dilano Taylor, another Challenger Series fighter last year, made it all the way to the finals. So there's a ton of potential and a lot of great fighters out there, and they're getting the nod and they're getting the opportunity to show their wares in the PFL.
And what about some of the names that impressed you this year so far? Was there anyone in particular who stood out to you?
A lot of amazing fighters. Obviously, last week, Brahyan Zurcher got the contract. He's a kid that's been training at the gym in Las Vegas at Extreme Couture. He fought a couple times in showcase bouts last season for the PFL. Stepped up, said, I want to be in the Challenger Series. I want to crack at the title, at a contract, and did a great job to get that contract last week. So I've been very, very impressed with him. Such a humble, hardworking kid.
Yeah, I spoke with Brahyan ahead of his fight. He was in Mexico at the time. And yes, he sounded very humble, and he was really motivated to perform in front of you and, of course, in front of all the PFL audiences. And I'm honestly, I'm glad he landed that contract. He deserved it after that performance.
I agree 100%. Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure we'll hear about him again in the upcoming regular season. Today is going to be the light heavyweights turn. Is there anyone whom you are watching closely?
Well, obviously, I have to keep an open mind. There'll be 4 fights. There'll be 4 winners. They'll narrow that down to 2 of those winners that are going to potentially get the contract. I'm a celebrity judge tonight, not just an analyst and commentator. So I got to kind of sit back, take it all in, really kind of determine who I think deserves to get the shot at that contract and potential regular season fighting coming up here.
Since you have been following very closely this year's edition of the Challenger Series, but you also worked on last year's edition, I'd like to ask you, did you notice any differences between this year and last year? Do you think that the fighters are, got better, to have that spirit and to perform in front of you and in front of the PFL fans? Did they really get that chance, that opportunity they have with the Challenger Series?
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously a ton of talent out there. We've already mentioned Carlos Leal and Dilano Taylor that came out of last year's Challenger Series. We've given away 5 contracts already this season. We didn't give away that many contracts in last year's Challenger Series. So that's an indicator to me of the level of talent, the kids that are maybe not have that much experience, but man, they have a lot of skill and they're willing to put themselves out there. And that's what this is all about. It's not about locking guys in a house to see what kind of antics and BS come out of it. It's about going in that cage and showing what you're really capable of. And I like that format.
And what's about finding some of your colleagues, of your, old acquaintances from the MMA world? You already work with Tyron Woodley, for example, or of course Vitor Belfort. You two have quite a long history.
Yeah, it's fun to be rubbing elbows with those guys that I've competed against or trained with. And Tim Kennedy's joining us this weekend. He's an athlete and a person that I admire a lot. He's been incredible in mixed martial arts. So bringing in Paige Van Zandt. I mean, there's just been a plethora of athletes from our sport that have lent themselves to the Challenger Series as celebrity judges. It's been pretty fun.
Have you, since you are a former UFC champion, heavyweight champion, light heavyweight champion, have you watched the Jon Jones's recent fight and the recent move to heavyweight?
I didn't get to watch the fight. Obviously, I saw how the fight turned out and the outcome. I thought, there was some questions there with Jon. He hadn't competed in 3 years. He's moving up in weight class. He's used to kind of being the big guy. How is he going to deal with maybe being the small guy for a change? And I kind of thought that Cyril Gaines would be a bigger challenge for him. He found a way to get it done. He kind of made it look easy, frankly. So no surprise. Jon's a very, very talented athlete.
But the real fight everyone wants to see, and hopefully we will see one day, is Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. At the moment, it seems that there are no chances to see it, but whatever. In your opinion, how would that play out? How would that fight play out?
I would be interested to see that fight. I mean, Francis is very diligent. He's worked very, very hard on his wrestling. Obviously, the second fight with Stipe Miocic was a completely different fight. That wrestling and that work, that mat time that he spent showed and paid off. It'd be interesting to see how he matched up with a guy like Jon and Jon's wrestling ability, who against a guy as powerful and big as Francis is, he's definitely going to have to use that wrestling ability to negate some of that power and take Francis out of that striking game where he's so comfortable. It would be an interesting matchup. Obviously, I don't see that happening anytime soon at the current situation, but it is what it is. It's still fun to speculate.
Yes, that's true. And, it is a pity, at least to me, and you are also involved in this kind of situation, that the UFC doesn't put these super fights everyone wants to see and to watch on the first place, on the top priority, and instead goes on with politics.
It's unfortunately the nature of the sport in some regards. I think we're the fastest growing sport on the globe, but we have a lot of room to grow still, and a lot of things we need to sort out in our sport. Certainly, Francis and Jon chirping about fighter pay, Jake Paul poking Dana about fighter pay. This is one of the areas where we need to shore some things up and create some transparency in our sport and allow the athletes to negotiate their fair value in the marketplace at this point. But I think we'll get there at some point. I think, organizations like the PFL are setting the bar and changing some things. This format is very interesting. They're taking care of the fighters very, very well. They're paying the fighters very, very well. So, and I think that you're seeing this organization, the PFL, grow very, very quickly because of that. And so it's a great time to be a mixed martial artist. Lots of places to go and to compete and show everybody what you're capable of. And that's a good thing.
I'm glad to hear that the situation is slightly improving, and yes, indeed, and not only is a great time to be a mixed martial artist, but also a mixed martial artist fan like myself. I consider myself a fan, first of all. Randy, thank you very much again. Do you have any last messages you would like to share today?
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to the fights on Fubo TV tonight with the light heavyweights in the PFL Challenger Series. If you're looking for me, you'll be able to see me in the theaters here coming in September 22nd with Expendables 4. It's going to be a big one.